And when that moment comes, the doors that were locked will swing open. The opportunities that delayed will accelerate. The blessings that were hidden will reveal themselves. And the prayers that felt unanswered will flood your life at once. Because what God releases, He releases suddenly. But before the sudden, there is always the silent. You're in the silent season. The season where you feel unseen, unheard, unnoticed, unsure. But hear this clearly. God does His best work in silence. Seeds grow in silence. Healing happens in silence. Transformation begins in silence. Preparation is built in silence. And God is preparing you for a future greater than your imagination. Greater than your expectations. Greater than the prayers you prayed in desperation. Greater than the dreams you whispered at night. But to receive what is coming, you must release what is gone. The people who left, let them go. The plans that failed, let them go. The timing that didn't align, let it go. The disappointment that broke you, let it go. The expectations that drained you, let them go. You cannot carry old weight into new seasons. You cannot walk into God's next with yesterday's burdens. You cannot reach God's plans while holding your own plans in a closed fist. God needs your hands, not clenched, but open. Not gripping the past, but ready for the future. Not holding your fears, but trusting His promise. And His promise is this. I will restore what was lost. I will replace what was taken. I will renew what was broken. I will revive what was dying. I will redeem what was wasted. I will rebuild what was shattered. But leave it with me. Your story is not ending, it is being rewritten. Your purpose is not fading, it is unfolding. Your blessing is not cancelled, it is being crafted. You may feel tired, but you are not defeated. You may feel confused, but you are not abandoned. You may feel empty, but you are not forgotten. You may feel delayed, but you are not denied. There comes a point in your journey when God doesn't just ask you to release what hurt you, He asks you to release what you loved. Not because it was bad, not because it failed, but because it cannot travel with you into the future He is preparing. Growth requires separation. Purpose requires elevation. And elevation often requires isolation. You've been asking, God, why does it feel like I'm losing everything? And God is answering. You're not losing, I'm clearing the path. I'm removing what blocks your calling. I'm removing what distracts your spirit. I'm removing what cannot sustain the next level of your life. This season may feel lonely, but it is not abandonment. It is alignment. God didn't isolate you to break you. He isolated you to speak to you. He isolated you to rebuild you. He isolated you to reintroduce you. Not to the world, but to yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you forgot how strong you are. You forgot how chosen you are. You forgot how protected you are. You forgot how valuable you are. You forgot that the same God who brought you out before is the same God preparing to bring you up again. And God is saying, I'm rebuilding the confidence the enemy tried to steal. I'm rebuilding the identity life tried to erase. I'm rebuilding the peace that storms tried to shake. I'm rebuilding the courage that disappointment tried to bury. But before God rebuilds, He clears the foundation. That's why so much has been removed. That's why people left. That's why opportunities ended. That's why expectations collapsed. That's why old chapters closed. Not because you failed, but because God is preparing space for something bigger. You see, you prayed for growth. But you didn't know that growth requires pruning. You prayed for purpose. But you didn't know that purpose requires separation. You prayed for strength. But you didn't know that strength is built in silence. You prayed for clarity. But you didn't know that clarity often comes after He. Your tears were not wasted. Your pain was not pointless. Your waiting was not in vain. Everything you walked through taught you something. Everything you survived shaped you. Everything you endured prepared you. The storms that tried to break you were the same storms God used to strengthen you. The nights you cried were the same nights heaven was fighting for you. The prayers you thought were unheard were the same prayers God was storing for the right moment. And that moment is coming. God is building you in private so He can bless you in public. He is strengthening you in silence so He can elevate you in clarity. He is preparing what's next in a realm you cannot see, because if you saw the whole picture now, you would either run ahead or run away. So He reveals only what you can handle in this season. But make no mistake, the preparation is active. Heaven is arranging connections, opportunities, answers, and pathways. God is setting up the right people to walk into your life at the right time. He is placing the right opportunities in alignment with your purpose. He is shifting circumstances, opening doors, and clearing obstacles. And in this moment, all He's asking from you is this: leave it with me. Leave the disappointment with Him. Leave the heartbreak with Him. Leave the confusion with Him. Leave the unanswered questions with Him. Leave the people who walked away with Him. Leave the plans that fell apart with Him. Because God cannot rewrite the next chapter of your story if you're still clinging to the last one. This is your season of release. This is your season of renewal. This is your season of realignment. This is your season where God takes what the enemy used to break you and turns it into the very thing that lifts you. You're not watching this video by accident. This is confirmation. This is alignment. This is divine timing. God is saying to you right now: what you lost was not the end, it was the beginning. What you cried over was not your duh. And here is the truth: God has not forgotten you. God has not overlooked you. God has not abandoned your prayers. Heaven is not silent. God is preparing something you cannot see yet. What feels like a delay is actually alignment. What feels like a setback is actually positioning. What feels like silence is actually strategy. God is not late. He is exact. He moves with precision, purpose, and perfect timing. You may feel stuck, but God is building something inside you: endurance, wisdom, maturity, strength, and spiritual sensitivity. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. You're not behind, you're being trained. You're not rejected, you're being redirected. Your broken expectations are not broken promises. You thought life would look different by now. You thought the blessing would have arrived sooner. You thought the storm would have passed already. But God doesn't follow your timeline. He follows His divine strategy. And everything He removes is making space for what He's about to release. Everything He closes is protecting you from something you didn't see. Everything He delays is ensuring that when the blessing arrives, you won't be robbed, ruined, or unprepared. God is preparing what's next, and you don't even know how close you are. You're closer to the breakthrough than you think. You're closer to healing than you realize. You're closer to the right people, the right opportunities, the right environment, the right path. But before God brings the next chapter, He must close the old one completely. Some chapters don't close by themselves, you have to let them close. You have to release the people who stopped growing with you. You have to release the expectations that weighed you down. You have to release the disappointments that tried to define you. You have to release the timelines you created in your own mind. You have to release the fear of the unknown. Because God cannot place something new in hands that refuse to let go of the old. There are moments in life when the weight you carry becomes heavier than your strength. Not because you're weak, and not because you're failing, but because God is preparing to shift you into a season that requires more faith, more surrender, and more trust than ever before. You didn't click on this message by accident today. You didn't arrive here by coincidence. You're listening because God wants to speak to the deepest part of your heart. You've been carrying expectations that exhausted you, people who drained you, memories that wounded you, and fears that silenced your progress. And God is whispering into your spirit: my child, leave it with me. You don't have to hold it anymore. I'm preparing what's next. You thought the door that closed was a mistake. You thought the silence meant God was far away. You thought the disappointment meant He changed His plans. But none of that is true. The truth is this: the very thing you're struggling to release is the thing God is trying to free you from. Because there are seasons in life when you outgrow what once felt comfortable. You outgrow relationships that no longer align with your purpose. You outgrow situations that no longer match your calling. You outgrow environments that no longer speak life into you. But growth doesn't always feel like growth. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like heartbreak. And in those moments, God is saying, let it go. You can trust me with the pieces you can't carry. You've been living under pressure, trying to make everything work, trying to fix everything yourself, trying to hold together what God never asked you to hold. And now He's inviting you into a new posture, one of surrender. Not the surrender that gives up, but the surrender that hands over.